18.
Thank you, Commissioners. Illicit drugs for purposes of my evidence are substances that are prohibited by law. Illicit drugs may also be drugs that are lawfully possessed or used under specific conditions, but which are then possessed, used, or distributed unlawfully. My statement deals only with the former. There are essentially two categories of illicit drugs or narcotics: naturally derived drugs and synthetic drugs. Naturally derived drugs are, for instance, dagga, cocaine, and heroin. And I would also like to include here methamphetamine that's originating from Afghanistan. Cocaine is derived from leaves of the coca plant, which is cultivated mainly in South American countries such as Colombia. The leaves are harvested and then processed to extract a substance known as coca paste. This paste is further refined through chemical processes to produce cocaine hydrochloride, which is the form commonly trafficked and sold as cocaine. Heroin is derived from the opium poppy plant, which is cultivated primarily in Afghanistan. The opium is extracted from the poppy plant and then processed to produce morphine, which is further refined into heroin through additional chemical processes. And this is where I also would like to include then the plant-based methamphetamine that originates also from Afghanistan, Commissioners. Cocaine and heroin enter South Africa commonly through established transnational maritime routes involving multiple countries. Cocaine is typically transported from South Africa via West Africa.
South America.
Apologies for that, Commissioners. Transported from South America via West Africa before reaching Southern Africa, while heroin is commonly transported from regions such as Afghanistan through East Africa like Mozambique and into South Africa. These substances are moved using a variety of methods, including air travel couriers, commercial maritime routes, and overland transport. South Africa functions both as a destination for local distribution and as a transit point for further international trafficking. These activities are generally conducted by organized criminal networks operating across national borders. A common method used globally is called the rip-on, rip-off technique. It is essentially hiding drugs inside someone else's shipment in the container when retrieving them before the rightful owner ever knows. The illicit drugs are placed into a legitimately packed shipping container without the knowledge of the lawful consignor or consignee and are later removed from that container at a port or transit point. This method makes use of legitimate cargo to conceal the transportation of drugs. The process requires the trafficking syndicate to identify a legitimate container with a legitimate consignment from a reputable company. Usually an employee or employees at the consignor would be targeted by the trafficking syndicate. The transaction also requires corrupt officials in the source port as well as its final destination. The officials load bulk consignments of contraband in backpacks, baggage, and boxes placed preferably at the back of the container. Sometimes a duplicate seal is left inside the container. Should the container be opened, it can be resealed without raising an alarm that the consignment has been tampered with. The rip-off is normally done at its destination. Here again, corrupt officials will break the seal, open the container, remove the contraband, and replace the ripped seal with the duplicate seal that has been placed in the container. In most cases, the port of origin is the port of Santos in Brazil, which is a free port requiring no customs duties from companies using the port. In my experience, in the majority of transactions, the shipper, the forwarding agent, the clearing agent, and the transporter, such as a truck driver, are innocent parties and are unlikely to be aware of any contraband hidden in the container. These parties rely on the information for the legitimate consignment contained in the shipping documents, such as the manifest document, the bill of lading, clearing and transportation documents. Similarly, customs officers will peruse these documents to determine if the consignment is legitimate before releasing the container, none the wiser that illicit drugs have been smuggled into the container. I can perhaps also just here indicate, Commissioners, that SARS Customs do some physical checks on these containers, and then on some of it, obviously not all. And in some instances, they do detect narcotics, and then alert the DPCI to the matter for further investigation. I will deal in detail with seizures that occurred in 2020 to 2022, but I want to deal with one seizure to give the Commission a practical example of the method described above.
Thank you, General. Just before you proceed, Commissioners, this is where we're going to flight some photographs just to demonstrate what the General is indicating. Proceed, General.
Thank you. On 30 July 2021, a ton of cocaine, it was in total 999 kilogram bricks, Commissioners, was seized in Durban at the LCS Freight Logistics Depot. The drugs were found at the back of a Scania shipping container containing truck parts. The container's port of origin was the port of Santos in Brazil. Scania was not aware of the cocaine in the container. The drugs were seized and taken to the Maiden Wharf police station. Prior to the DPCI arriving at the depot, members from border policing visited the company and placed a detention order on the container.
At this stage, show photo 1. So if you can just describe that photo, General.
The photo depicts containers, Commissioners, that's offloaded from vessels that docked in the harbour.
And then photo 2.
Commissioners, that is a photo that depicts the consignment of cocaine, or by then suspected cocaine, that was found in the back of the shipping container immediately upon opening the doors. There is of the blocks of cocaine with the logo W or M, depending on how you look at cocaine with the logo W or M, depending on how you look at it. Commissioner, the photo that's depicted there is of the blocks of cocaine with the logo W or M, depending on how you look at it, that was recovered from one of the bags after the wrapping of that bag was removed.
General, we're going to get to other seizures as well. If you could maybe at this stage just explain to the Commissioners the significance of the logos, so that W, or I think it is a W.
Commissioners, there's different logos that's being found on all these seizures. And the explanation for that is that it is the unique mark of certain individuals or a syndicate that's operating within the production space of the cocaine in, for instance, Colombia, that place their fingerprint or their identity to that brick of cocaine. That if there's in future a problem at the final destination, for instance, with the quality, it is clear from where that brick of cocaine is originating.
Because I'm sure they can't have their fingerprints on it, and they can't exactly have a note that says, I'm the supplier.
Indeed, Commissioner, and that's why you will also find that there is perhaps multiple suppliers in one consignment that arrives in South Africa. And that's the reason why there will be multiple logos when such consignments are detected and seized.
Thank you, General. If we can go to photograph 4. If you can just describe what we're looking at now.
Commissioners, it's just another photo that depicts towards the bags of containing the cocaine in the back of the container. But I think what's also clear here is that it has handles. And the reason for that handles is to carry it easily. Because when criminals execute a rip-on, rip-off procedure, speed is of essence. You need to remove the exhibits with speed, obviously in the fear of being detected. And that's why it needs to be easy to carry these bags and place it in a vehicle or in a panel van, whatever mode of transport is being used, to then speed away with it undetected.
And then if I could just ask for you them to zoom in on the orange item there. And if you could just explain the significance of that item.
Commissioners, this is, as I've explained, duplicate seals. So it shows you the criminal network is so sophisticated that they even make provision for a duplicate seal to be placed once the narcotics is removed from the container. So once they've removed the cocaine from the container, they just close the doors and seal it with the duplicate seal. And when SARS, Customs, or the port authorities verify the actual seals with the bill of lading and other documentary evidence or documents that they have in their possession, there will be no suspicion that there was any contraband in that container.
Ms. Sigel-Ncube, I see we are not marking these as exhibits, giving them exhibit numbers. You don't consider that necessary?
We will do so, yes. Chair, as soon as I'm done with all the photographs, then I'll just get the exhibit number as it is now.
All right.
And then I will then place it on the record, Chair.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, arising from this picture, at your paragraph 22, you don't need to go there, General. You at the end of that paragraph, you say that paragraph 22 on page 8, you say that the rip-off is normally done at destination. Here again, corrupt officials will break the seal, open the container, and I think that's what this photograph is speaking to. Is it necessarily just the officials who can do this, or is the harbor and that arrangement about which I know nothing, such that even private individuals who are part of this plan or scheme?
Indeed, Commissioners, that's why I indicated that corruption takes place within both the public and private space. So when we refer here to officials, it does not necessarily mean that it's government officials. It can also include officials working in the harbour or at the depots where these containers gets opened and unpacked in some instances or forwarded by means of road freight. So it goes for both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'm just going to go out of sequence just to show what a seal, an intact seal, looks like so that the commissioners can see what the significance of the duplicate. If I could ask you to just go to photo 2 of the 22 June photos. That would be the seal that you're referring to.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And so that seal would be removed to gain access to the cocaine, and then the duplicate seal that's been left inside is then used to replace that. Would that duplicate seal have the same barcoding and numbering as the original seal?
Exactly the same, Commissioner. Then that's the mode for them not to be detected, because if the seal number differs, obviously when that container is opened or before it's being opened, the final destination will detect that something went wrong and that the container was opened after it left the port of origin.
Thank you. Then if we can go back to your statement, I think we're on page 10, paragraph 26.
Before you go
my
there,
apologies.
sorry to keep going back, General. What became of this cocaine bust on 30 July 2021? You see, now I've become curious. I hope it didn't go missing as well.
Commissioner Kumalo, can I ask that the General explain its significance later when he gets to the 22 June?
The other
Yes.
one? Okay.
Yeah. There's a reason why he's referring to it, because it's so close in time. Thank you. Proceed, General.
Thank you.
Paragraph 26.
Thank you, Commissioner. Cocaine and heroin are smuggled into the country primarily for the local market, but is also repackaged and for onward trafficking to another country. In other words, the criminal grouping or syndicate in South Africa would assist in repackaging the drugs to make it easier for onward smuggling to another country, usually to Europe. Port authorities are particularly vigilant when vessels arrive from Port of Santos because of the prevalence of drug trafficking from that port. Successful entry into Europe is more likely if the consignment is rerouted to less suspicious countries before onward movement to Europe.
So in this instance, would South Africa be the less suspicious country, or does it go somewhere else from South Africa before it enters Europe?
Well, it depends on the route of the vessel, Commissioners. That will dictate whether there will be stops in between as well.
Thank you. Paragraph 27.
The main trafficking hubs in South Africa are the Durban Harbour, OR Tambo International Airport, and the Lebombo Port of Entry. Bulk imports are mainly through the Durban Harbour. The smuggling via OR Tambo International Airport is primarily by way of people referred to as drug mules who would smuggle the drugs in their luggage or on their person, such as in body cavities. Bulk trafficking through shipping containers is usually undertaken by sophisticated syndicates. Commissioners, I can also just mention here that except for these harbour, the Western Cape Town Harbour, Saldanha Harbour, as well as smaller harbours towards Port Elizabeth and so forth, are all being used to a lesser extent, although for these smuggling and trafficking activities.
Thank you, General. Then can we move on to the next subtopic, which is the synthetic illicit drugs?
Thank you, Commissioners. Synthetic drugs are manufactured through chemical processes rather than derived from natural plant sources. In many instances, since they are not classified as controlled substances in South Africa, the chemicals used to manufacture the drug are sourced through lawful supply chains, but are then diverted or misused for unlawful purposes. Controlled substances are also imported illegally or smuggled into South Africa. The most prevalent synthetic drugs in the country are methamphetamine, known as crystal meth or TIC, methaqualone, known as Mandrax. Synthetic drugs are manufactured at what is referred to as clandestine drug laboratories or CDLs. There are super labs and kitchen labs. Kitchen labs are found in businesses and residential areas, and the equipment used to manufacture the drugs are the readily available equipment such as stoves and other kitchen equipment or appliances.
Sorry, General, before you continue, can I just take you back to paragraph 28 and ask you about the controlled substances that are imported illegally?
Yeah, Commissioners, when it comes to methamphetamine, the controlled substance used there is ephedrine. You get plant-based ephedrine from the ephedra tree in Afghanistan, and then you get the chemicals. Obviously, that's man-made or laboratory-made, and that is then ephedrine as a liquid in a liquid form. And then the active ingredient of methaqualone, of Mandrax, is methaqualone.
And so why is this ephedrine imported or smuggled into South Africa?
It is because it's a controlled substance within South Africa, Commissioner, so you cannot go to any chemical shop and just procure it over the counter. If you need it, obviously there need to be a legitimate reason for that. So, for instance, you are in the medicine manufacturing space, and then obviously you will be able to procure such controlled substances. So it means that the only way to get it into the country is by means of either misrepresentations on the import documents or smuggling activities into South Africa.
Thank you, General. You were busy with super labs.
Super labs are large-scale drug manufacturing operations using specialized equipment and producing drugs in significant quantities. They have extensive infrastructure with specially designed equipment, extraction fans, and reactor vessels. The special equipment is available in the country but is predominantly imported. Super labs are usually found in remote areas, on farms and small holdings. These locations reduce the likelihood that activities such as unusual odors associated with manufacturing of large volumes of drugs, noise or waste disposal will be observed. Once the drugs have been manufactured, they are distributed or disseminated into the market via complex networks. A manufacturer who has a super lab and thereafter distributes the drugs within their own network is referred to as an apex role player or syndicate leader. In July 2024, the DPCI detected and successfully dismantled a super lab on a farm in Groblersdal, Limpopo province, where methamphetamine was being produced. Methamphetamine to the value of approximately 2 billion rand was seized and 5 suspects were arrested.
Before you continue, General, if I could just then put up the photographs to demonstrate the Groblersdal super lab, and you can just tell us what we're seeing. Photo 1.
Thank you, Commissioners. On that photo is depicted the grand scale activities that was taking place on that farm in Groblersdal. What you observe there obviously is the extraction fans. That's the silver equipment that you observe there. Underneath that will be the reaction vessels. So that is where all these chemicals are poured into. It's mixed according to a specific recipe, and then it is placed obviously on top of a burner, a gas burner, and that is why you would see that there's a number of acetylene cylinders on that photo visible. I can see at least 2, and because obviously the reaction vessels need to be heated up over a period of time for the ingredients to come to the final product, which is then methamphetamine or crystal meth.
Thank you. Photo 2.
Commissioners, photo 2 depict more acetylene cylinders. It shows us the extent of the activities that was taking place there, and it also depicts towards an efficient supply chain of equipment. So in addition to the actual manufacturing of the methamphetamine, the individuals involved there was properly prepared in terms of their logistics and the infrastructure that they need to effectively continue with the manufacturing.
Thank you, General. And then photo 3.
Commissioners, what's important here is not to focus on the person. It's not one of the accused. It is within that bucket, the blue drum, you can clearly see the crystals, and that is the final product, the methamphetamine, after it went through all the processes as depicted in the previous photos.
And 4 and then 5.
Photo 4 is just more photos that directs towards the seizure from the crime scene, Commissioners. And there's more evidence of the methamphetamine seized from that super lab, Commissioners.
Thank you, General. And you say it was 2 billion rand worth of methamphetamine that you referred to as crystal meth or TIC.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And the value of 2 billion rand, how does one get to that value?
Commissioners, there is international best practice within that space because this is transnational crimes in nature. So what we do is that experts within the space regularly also communicate to our counterparts across the globe. And that is how it is determined based on current market prices. What is the value when it is sold off into the markets and into communities.
Thank you, General. Then I interrupted you at paragraph 32.
Before that, if you could just go back to photo 1. Now, the equipment that is there, if it is not being used here for this kind of activities, is it easily obtainable? What is it ordinarily used for? And maybe third part of it is it regulated? Who has access legally to this kind of equipment?
Yes, Commissioners, indeed. For instance, the extractor fans are industrially used in a number of industries. For instance, the mining industry. The reason why extractor fans are, for instance, placed there is that the cooks or the individuals involved in this process are not affected by the fumes that's generated by the reaction vessels. So the extractor fans, the burners, as well as the acetylene cylinders, is readily available. What is not readily available necessarily is the reaction vessels, because it needs to be a specific vessel that's scientifically developed that will enhance the processes that's being followed by these criminals. So that vessels need to be either manufactured in South Africa or illegally imported with misrepresentations of what it actually is that's being imported.
If it is manufactured, that reaction vessel, if it is manufactured in South Africa, is it, this is its sole purpose, or it does get manufactured and it is usable legally? I guess what I'm trying to ascertain is whether whether that can be stopped, whether there's, any steps can be taken to make it illegal to manufacture that reaction vessel.
Commissioners, from my own knowledge, these reaction vessels are exclusively used for the illegal purposes. So I'm not aware of any prohibitions to manufacture it, but that's the exclusive use of that portion of the apparatus to get to the final product.
And are you, when I say are you, I mean the authorities, including the SAPS, aware of any manufacturers of these reaction units?
Not in South Africa, Commissioner, okay, but abroad indeed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I see that it's 11 o'clock now. There are 3 paragraphs left of this topic, but I can deal with it when we return. Then you say